I feel like we're all different. So whatever is your Achilles heel, right?
Mm.
If you're beating yourself up over the fact you haven't got your bookkeeping done, you're just, you know, stressing out every tax time, I'd probably delegate that. If you have a strong desire to do a podcast, it's in your heart, it's your goal, it can help your business, but you're like me, you're like, oh, I don't want to learn how to do that stuff. It sounds like a terrible journey to go on. I don't want to do that. Then, think about delegating that in a way that it can all be done for you. So really, I think we're all different in our skill sets and what we're willing to do. We can all do things that, we're not always going to be doing exactly what we love in our business.
Martians landed.
Yes.
Wearing Prada suits.
Yes.
Drinking Henry Seltzer.
Yes.
Chewing juicy fruit.
Yes, and?
Your branding here.
Yes, brand.
Your message here.
Yes, and?
A verse about
Yes.
your product here.
Yes.
I'm Hersh Rephun.
Yes, and?
I'm a message therapist.
Yes.
And I have a podcast.
Yes, brand.
That's right, that's it.
Yes.
We'll help you fix the world.
Yes.
Or your bottom line.
All right.
Your bottom line.
Get it. I get it. Welcome to the Yes Brand Podcast.
In the hot seat today on Yes Brand is no one other than Kirsten Graham. Kirsten understands that time's the most valuable asset for business owners, and that's why she is committed to helping them transition from being invisible to gaining visibility with the right audiences. And we talk a lot about on this show how important it is to know your audience. Through strategic video marketing, podcast guesting, Kirsten empowers business owners to build authority and generate quality leads. Plus, with the support of a VA, business owners can free up their time to focus on growing their income. It sounds simple, but it's really honestly something that so many of us struggle with, the right support, the right audience, and pulling it all together. So Kirsten, welcome to the show. I'm excited to talk to you about your brand.
Yeah, Hirsch, thanks for having me. And I love the name of your podcast and your company. Yes, brand. I love that. It's
Thank
so,
you.
so precise. How did you come up with it? Just out of curiosity.
Oh, well, that came from my time in improv, because there's the
Mhm.
yes and rule of
Yes.
improvisational comedy, where you don't say no to your teammate's suggestion no matter how crazy it is. And that keeps the humor going. And I feel that similarly, when I work with clients, I'm responding to their wishes and their desires for what they want their brand to say and do. I'm just kind of helping them package the message a little bit, but really
Yeah.
it's a collaborative medium,
Yes.
and it doesn't go anywhere without their, heart and soul and passion and idea. And so my goal is to build on it rather than just create something out of thin air, which we all know is not what we really do.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. I love it. Well, thank you so much for having me here today.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. So tell me what's got you really excited right now.
Yeah, sure. So, like you said in the intro, Jeannie and I really focus a lot on marketing virtual assistants, getting booked on podcasts, creating podcasts, things like that. But really, that's Jeannie's background is marketing and passion. My background is owning a mortgage company, so a little bit of a numbers nerd. And so we rolled, I know, right? So we rolled out a new program called Love Your Profit because as a business coach, I realized so many business owners struggle with their finances and they stress out at tax time, they're missing thousands of dollars of deductions and when you're trying to build a business, that money matters. And so we rolled out an awesome program that pairs our client with a bookkeeping virtual assistant, and that person joins their team and takes care of all their bookkeeping for them. And it's incredibly affordable. And the people who've been through the program already were getting raving reviews. And so it's been really exciting. And that's what we're most excited about going into next year. I have a huge goal to help 1,000 business owners by the end of 2026 to really understand their finances. We can't manifest more money if we're afraid of it. And if we're not taking care of our money, our businesses are not going to grow.
Yeah, you make a really great point, which is that we can't manage our money if we're afraid of it. We can't make more if we're afraid of it. And I think that there is a really strong connection there. I think that
Mhm.
people who are concerned about how they're going to manage all that business. I had somebody bring that up to me today. They were saying, "I don't want to scale up my business. I want to scale down my business." And granted, they're in a place where, they might be wanting to do that around now. But the idea
Mhm.
is that it can be very overwhelming to get what you
Mhm.
wish for. When you want more business and you're focused on getting more business, but if in the back of your mind you're really scared, how are you
Mhm.
going to manage it? How are you going to do? You probably won't close as much business as you want.
Yeah, I think it's kind of that running joke that we know we always hear, oh, the business owner, you wear a lot of hats. Well, let's be
Yeah.
honest. Most of us have no idea what hats we are going to have to put on our heads when we start a business, most less how to do all those things. And I think with money, there comes a lot of shame and guilt around, I should be able to do it. I know I need to do it. And, the bottom line is all of our bookkeeping VAs have degrees in finance or accounting. They're QuickBooks Zero certified. They have a minimum of 3 years in small business bookkeeping. But what's really amazing is that's their unique ability. That's their jam. That's what they love doing. So when you start to realize that you can delegate tasks that you hate doing or aren't confident with doing to someone who loves it and it's their passion and that frees you up to do what you're really good at, it's just a win-win all around.
Yeah. Yeah, and with the VA um market or world, I think a lot of people are turning to VAs for things that they need to get done, but also there may be a disconnect where the VA may be able to do a lot of different things. And they would say, "Oh, it's kind of like my all around support mechanism because they can do this, they can do that." But then when it comes to stuff like bookkeeping, that's very specific and very kind of, personal and critical, super critical. Uh, to me, it feels like that's akin to client services, where, if I'm going to have someone engage with my client, it has to be someone I know personally, someone I'm working with, very closely. It can be a VA, but that has to be their bailiwick, as you'd say. That has to be their
Yeah.
specialty,
Mhm.
client services, not just another thing that they can do.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, the biggest mistake they make when they try to hire is they're looking for that magic unicorn. They're
Yeah.
looking for that virtual assistant who can do everything, client relations, bookkeeping, email marketing. They can just do everything. And the reality is those people generally don't exist. And you're far better off to hire multiple people, even if it's just a few hours a month. I mean, most of our clients, their bookkeeping VA works with them for about 5 hours a month at the most. So if you're a small coaching business or a real estate agent, 4 to 5 hours is generally all you need once you're up to date. It makes more sense to hire an expert for a small amount of time to do that and to do it really, really well, and then hire other people to do other things. And like you said, it just depends on the particular task as to how much you want to make sure you're in relationship with that person. I mean, I we meet with our bookkeeping VA every month. We're in a very tight relationship with her. And we're going through our numbers and we're looking at things that are working or not working. But it's that great relationship that helps us. She points out things that we had never considered. And so and it's not just about tax time. It's about having information for, making good decisions in your business. Are your offers profitable? Do you need to change your pricing on some things? So yeah, you really want to hire someone who has a very unique skill set to do specific tasks for you. And yeah, there's somebody that can do general stuff, but for the most part, there's certain things you definitely want to get the right person to do.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and it's better to get that person and respect their time and be mindful of the fact that you don't have them all day long every day. You're going to
Mm-hmm.
probably get a lot more done in the time you spend with them because you're really apportioning that time to focus. And I think
Mm-hmm.
that's something that someone like me who can multitask, or I like to go from project to project. I like to spend, 3 hours in the morning on a project and then take a break and then switch projects and switch clients and go, do record a
Mm-hmm.
podcast and do different things. But by kind of compartmentalizing, I'm making sure that I respect each task so that
Mm-hmm.
I'm really focused on. I'm really getting into it. And I think it's the same with specialized, assistants. But tell the audience a little bit, Kirsten, how you got into this field.
Yeah, so my current business partner, Jeannie, she was actually a client when I owned a mortgage company and a title company. And she had called to check on interest rates. And I knew that the last time that I had worked with her and her husband, she was talking about leaving her job so that she could be home with her kids and start a business. And so she called and I said, "Oh, the interest rates, are not ideal. Like you're good where you are. How's your business going?" And she said, "Oh, it's okay." And I said, "Well, tell me more." And so we just started chatting. And like so many business owners, no one in her family owned a business, and she didn't have a lot of friends that owned businesses. So she was, a little out there on her own. So I agreed to meet with her for coffee, which I had been doing for lots of other business owners for about a decade, kind of mentoring people. And we just had a great conversation. And at that time, she was doing business cards and rack cards and, more tangible, print items. But that was when Facebook first came out with fan pages. I'm really dating
Hmm.
us now. And that was before
It's okay.
that's before ads existed. It was a crazy time because if a business jumped onto Facebook, it was free. And you could reach a very large audience very quickly if you were, doing the right things on Facebook as it was growing. And so she ended up teaching classes on, Facebook, LinkedIn's not just a resume site. That was back when email marketing and blogging were really starting to hit, more than just the
Yeah.
high-end online businesses, really everyone. And so what happened is she taught some classes on that. So after our focus group, she taught some classes of how to do this. And then a lot of the business owners reached out and wanted to hire her, which was great. Um, so her business got really busy really, really quickly. And so we were talking about hiring someone. And I said, "I've read about outsourcing. Would you want to try that?" And she said, "Okay,
Yeah.
if you'll help me." And that kind of took us down the road of hiring a complete staff for her agency. And this was before Zoom. It was before WhatsApp. It was back back when we had to use old school emailing. And we learned a lot of lessons the really hard way. But it was something where we both saw potential in it. So fast forward a few years and marketing starts to change. We all need to show up in our marketing. We need to be part of our marketing. We can't necessarily just delegate everything out. And so we started talking about how could we help, our clients, how could we help the smaller business owners actually figure out how to start a YouTube channel or how to start a podcast and then actually train a marketing virtual assistant who would do everything for them. Video editing, audio editing, graphic design, social media, email marketing, all around that episode. And it's been 7 or 8 years now, and it's still going strong. And it was just really a
Yeah.
great eye opener. So it was kind of a windy road to end up here, but yeah.
Well, I also, what I learned from podcasting was when I started doing it, I was doing everything myself out of necessity, really, but I think it was the best thing ever to do because in any business that I've ever worked in, the more hats you wear, to go back to that idea, the more hats you wear in the beginning, the better you are as you try to guide people to support you because you want to delegate it and you also know what's involved, so you know if they're good at it,
Mhm.
and it makes for a stronger team. And if you need to step in, you can step in, and I find that really useful. Feel? Um, where do you feel is the are there areas where a VA is not the right choice? Let's say in a team.
Yeah, so I think hiring someone overseas is really good for specific tasks, right? And I will, Hersh, I do want to talk about the whole concept of you needing to do everything in your business before you can delegate it, because I
Hmm.
want to know when you needed to get your car fixed, did you fix it first or did you take it to a mechanic, right?
Well,
S-
that's a very good example. And
Yeah.
no.
Right? So there are some mindset things, but what we have found is that first of all, eliminate. Sometimes we're doing things that don't need to be delegated because they shouldn't be done at all. So I think as business owners, we have to look at what we have on our plate and think, is this really moving my business? Does it really need to be done? Then secondly, can you automate it or use AI? So that's the other thing is we're moving faster to AI. Can I automate it or can I use AI for it? And then if the answer is no to that, then you move into delegation. And like I said, you're very I think you're very much it's a better choice to hire someone specific for something. So for example, our podcast VA, she loves video editing, she loves audio editing, she loves graphic design, she's incredibly creative. She goes in and sets up that email to go out every week. She loves scheduling all of her posts. She's doing something she really loves. And I like to tell people because Jeannie's very tech savvy, probably more like you, where she could do everything. She could do everything on our podcast. I'm not tech savvy. I would be swearing like a sailor and throwing my computer out the back door to the
Mhm.
lake. So, I feel like we have a lot of clients that are more like me, but I can tell you what I like and what I dislike in the editing. I can tell you how I want that video to make me feel. I can tell you that I like smooth transitions, not really fast and zippy things. I can give you my style guide to tell you to stay on brand. I don't need to know how to do that to coach you in what I want done. And
Right.
and I think that's just a little bit of a different mindset. Now, I'm going to flip this. The challenge people have is if you don't have an SOP, if you don't have a standard operating procedure in place like you did, you know how to do the job, you had documented it, you handed it off to this person and you told them exactly how you want it done. In our case, all of our clients' virtual assistants go through a paid internship with us. They're marketing VAs. So they are trained on our SOPs. They're trained on all of our production workflows. So the client doesn't need to know that, but they don't need to know how to manage them through that. And that's one of the things we help our clients with is understanding you lead people, you manage tasks, and we do that through, SOPs and workflows. So again, if you're hiring by yourself, then you do need to make sure you know how to do everything and then document it clearly, have time to onboard them and have time to really get them up to speed on how you want things done. So I think, it just depends on which road you're taking.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And also, when I did it, part of it was I was becoming a podcaster. So I said to myself, I really should know how to do all this stuff. I should know how to
Hmm.
edit. I should know. And at one point, the only thing I wasn't doing was editing sound. And I have a very, very good friend who's a Grammy and Emmy winning music producer. And he said to me, the only thing you really don't need to do or shouldn't do is music editing and audio editing because it's you really need a professional to do it for you. It's not
Hmm.
something you want to experiment with if you're using a final product, but so that thing I delegated pretty quickly. I did explore it for fun, but I did invest in sound and music editing very early on. But I do think that it was more about the authority for me and feeling like I really was a podcaster and not
Hmm.
because not everyone who does a podcast wants to pursue it as a almost a vocation or an avocation.
Hmm.
It may just be a marketing tool for their company and they want to step in and have everything done as smoothly as possible around them
Hmm.
so that all they need to do is come in and record. That's also very, very valid. So we're all
Hmm.
different in that way.
Yeah.
Um, you know, uh, so when you were an early adopter when it came to VAs and a lot of the current support spectrum of things that people are using it for. What's going on out there right now where you see tremendous need for support?
Yeah, I think it really boils down to like our clients are really the small based business, the smaller business owners, the solopreneur, the person who generally is doing it all themselves. Maybe they have a VA support person, a few hours a month or whatever. But again, I feel like we're all different. So whatever is your Achilles heel, right? If
Mm,
you're beating yourself up over the fact you haven't got your bookkeeping done, you're just, you know, stressing out every tax time, I'd probably delegate that. If you have a strong desire to do a podcast, it's in your heart, it's your goal, it can help your business, but you're like me, you're like, oh, I don't want to learn how to do that stuff. It sounds like a terrible journey to go on. I don't want to do that. Then, think about delegating that in a way that it can all be done for you. So really, I think we're all different in our skill sets and what we're willing to do. We can all do things that, we're not always going to be doing exactly what we love in our business. We all do other things. But I really just advise people to think about if you could delegate something and it was being done properly for you, what would make you go, ah, Thank God, this
Mm.
feels so good. Like, and Hersh, that was one of the things that surprised me really early on because I've had businesses. I've owned a mortgage company, a title company. I've had businesses with staff stateside. So what surprised me more than anything was how many of our clients would say things like, I feel like a real business owner now, or I had no idea how much I was beating myself up because I couldn't get things done. And now that I have this person, I realize they're working, 20 hours a week on all my content. And I was wondering why I couldn't do that and do all my networking and to take care of my clients and create new products and still do all the marketing. So it's really just depends on what would you like to get off of your plate that would make you be able to breathe a sigh of relief and then focus on what's really important for you. And I think getting that support team started really starts to change how you view your business and how you feel about yourself and your business.
Yeah. And, when we talk here on Yes Brand about, you know, how we manifest our brands and how we get people to find out about us, what have you found in a marketplace? Because the marketplace you're in is competitive,
Mhm.
and there's a lot of people out there doing different things. How do you uh, set yourself apart from your competition?
Yeah, it's interesting because the way we offer our services is very different than what's on the market, which sometimes I don't know if it's a good or bad thing. We always like to say we're not a marketing agency, we're not an outsourcing agency. We truly coach our clients on how to use virtual assistants and give them all the education and support that they need. And then we actually hire and train their virtual assistants for them. But we don't mark up their labor. We're not the middleman, which allows our clients to be able to afford the support long term. I've had people say to me, I would go back to eating ramen noodles like I was in college before I would give up my VA, right? So we
Hmm.
want to make sure that the business owner can take that virtual assistant on and keep them long term because the success comes from when that VA knows what to do almost without, you don't have to really sign off on anything because they've done such a great job. So I feel like that's one of the things that we're very different where we're not, again, we're not an agency and we're not marking up the labor and we're not managing that person. That's the other thing. I think the reason why so many clients, their confidence goes up is because we're empowering them. We're empowering them to lead their VAs and to understand how to manage tasks and production and to make sure things are getting done. And that's the most important thing for me is to making sure that business owners understand what it feels like to get the support in your business, what it feels like to truly be that leader in your business, and understanding that even though most of us weren't taught how to use SOPs, standard operating procedures, but they're very important in order to continue to take your business to the next level.
Yeah. Yeah. And I love the idea of training training the VAs. Not everybody who's working in that space is there's some training or there's something involved, but here there's a real through line because you're
Mhm.
also training the client. And
Yes.
that's the key part because if we as the client, let's say, don't know what to ask for, don't know how to, it's a new medium in a
Yeah.
lot of ways.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing that I think is happening with AI, where people are jumping in without a license. It's like they're driving AI without a license. Of course, they're going to hit a wall. Of course, they're going to
Mhm.
have challenges. That in what I do, I create a brand language so that they can feed that into their AI and train their AI
Mhm.
on their brand. But even myself, I've learned how to use AI by talking to people,
Mhm.
and I think the same is true of VAs, where anything that you're doing to support your business, um, there's a skill there's a
Yes.
skill to it, and I think you're really onto something with that skill. Um,
Thank you.
first of all, tell us where I want to get uh, a little more of a message, maybe like a New Year's message for entrepreneurs and small business owners. But before we do that, tell us where to find you.
Yeah, you can go to our website, which is sixfigurebusinesscoaching.com, and that's SIX, figurebusinesscoaching.com, and we list our programs there. We really do stay in our lane, and so we don't offer VA services for everything. So you can check out what we offer there.
Great. And now, like kind of a tip for people who are, building their own businesses. And,
Mhm.
this kind of support that we've been talking about is a part of it.
Sure. So, first of all, I think working with someone like you is important to have your brand strategy because you don't necessarily want to start a podcast or start a YouTube channel until you're clear on who your ideal client is and your messaging. So I think it's important for people to follow the proper steps instead of jumping around. If I'm talking to someone about starting a podcast, I like to say think about it as a 2-year commitment. This isn't something you try 1 or 2 episodes and then you decide, oh, it doesn't work. I think only 7.5% of podcasters are still podcasting after 24 months. But if you're starting a podcast to build your business, first of all, be very clear on the strategy you want to use, and then make sure you have the bandwidth to stick with it because it is a little bit of a longer game. Not to say you can't get business early on, but it really is, you need to think about it as a longer game. The other thing I think I would say is, going into 2026, realize you deserve support in your business. You deserve to have people doing the things that you hate doing or you don't have time to do or just are not in your wheelhouse and you don't enjoy them. Even if you can do your bookkeeping, maybe you just hate it. So having someone in your corner to do that for you, you lead them, you manage the tasks that they do, but it's getting stuff done that you don't have to do yourself. And I feel like that for everyone is a big game changer.
Yeah, those are both awesome. Thank you for mentioning that. And to the first point, going into the new year, we're doing something called the 5 Minute Fix, which is a free service where anyone who's listening out there to any of our podcasts and they just are struggling to land their message, just need a little bit of course correction.
Right.
We hop on the phone, a 5 minute conversation, and point out some things that can be fixed right away. Because that's one of the
Nice.
joys of what I do is really a
Yeah.
simple conversation can fix that stuff. So anyone who wants the 5 minute fix, just ask for it. It's complimentary. And thank you so much, Kirsten, for being on the show, for being on
Thank you.
Yes Brand. It's been
Thank
a
you for having me.
pleasure. Yeah, my pleasure, and all the best.
Alright.
If you liked the show,
Yes, and?
it worked for you,
Yes, then?
subscribe and leave a
Yes, friend.
5-star review.
Yes, friend.
Tell all your friends.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Get your branding here.
Yes, friend.
Did I make it clear?
Yes, friend.
Get your branding on
Yes.
before they're gone.
Yes.